Hey guys, Martin here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so tomorrow we are getting the release of the 50% support unit EZAs on global, as well as all 5 banners coming out at the same time. So I wanted to put out this video the evening before, at least in terms of UK time, right? The banners will be coming out at the normal time that banners come out on global, as long as there's no sort of special circumstances. So it's 7:30 AM UK time, which means like 11:30 PM Pacific time. So I guess technically it's still today, right? Tonight that they come out for some of you guys if you're in the US, but it's tomorrow morning for me. This video will be going up probably around, I'll put it up at 7:30 PM UK time, so essentially 12 hours from when this video goes up is when the banners are going to come out. So I thought we would talk a little bit about the units as well as the banners, because I know for a lot of people, especially with the anniversary right around the corner, the big question is whether or not to summon on these banners, which ones to summon on, if any of them, and how to go about everything when the banners drop. Because the one thing that we know from JP, at least so far, is we can't see into the future. We don't know what they will plan to do at some point beyond now. But these guys, after these banners came back on JP, the units have not been available since then. Right, we talked about back when these EZAs happened on JP, whether they would add these units into the general pool or anything like that, or have the banners come back on a more regular basis. As of yet, that has not happened on JP. So that is one thing that is very important to bear in mind, that if you do not summon for these units now, and you do not get any of them now, we have no idea when they are going to come back. So if we take a look at the units, the main thing about them is that their passive is exactly the same. For every single one of these 10 units, their passive is exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the typing, right? So for example, Pan, AGL types 3 key, attack and defense 10%. Rildo will also give that. All the other ones give their own typing, 3 key, attack and defense 10%. Then we get an additional attack and defense 50% for Super AGL. So of course Rildo does Extreme AGL, TN for example does Super Tech, Scout of Vegeta does Extreme Int, right? These are all just replaced with the unit's own typing. And of course what that means is that stacks on top of the already 10% buff they give to the typing regardless of Super or Extreme, which means Pan gives Super AGL units 3 key and 60% attack and defense. So then they randomly change key spheres of a certain type, their own type excluded, to their own type orbs. They get 50% attack and defense per key sphere obtained, so they are all nuking style units. The more orbs you get, the more attack and defense they get. They also get an additional 20% attack and defense and chance to crit 10% per orb obtained if it is the same color. So for Pan, obviously AGL, that means each AGL orb gives Pan 70% attack and defense and a 10% chance to crit. Which means if you get a good orb change for the turn, if you can pick up 10 orbs, they literally have a 100% chance to crit, as well as a very significant stat buff. Then each of the units has the ability to change all key spheres on the field to their own typing when HP is 50% or less, as long as you have 2 or more of the Super or Extreme allies on the team with them, and it's another 2 or more, right? So for Pan, you need to have another 2 Super allies, but they don't need to be AGL, you just have to have 2 or more Super allies, and that gives you the ability to change all orbs to the typing at 50% or less, and it is once only. And then all of the units also get guard all attacks for 4 turns from the start of the turn, with another 3 or more of the typing allies. So it doesn't matter whether it's Super or Extreme, but they have to be AGL. So this is very, very good for some of these units, where if you're able to get the 3 or more units of the same typing and you have the Super or Extreme, then obviously they have that orb change ability, which can be huge. Not only is it giving them a massive buff to their stats, but because of the amount of defense it gives them in the process, you pretty much get like a full heal off of picking up all of the orbs of them as well. And then guard for the first 4 turns is really, really good when it comes to how good they can be defensively. So that's looking at their passive, which is the same for all of the units. The only thing that is different between the units, which essentially then determines which ones are better than the others, is their super attack effect. So the super attack effect is the only thing that differs between the 10 cards. So Pan, supreme damage to the enemy, raise allies attack and defense by 30% for 2 turns. So this is really good because these units, in a lot of these instances on teams, you're not going to be running them on main rotation. You could early on when they have the guard, and depending on the team build, like obviously you could do that, but usually they're going to be in slot 3. So her having the buff for 2 turns is really, really good because she's only supporting AGL types, right? And then super AGL types get the massive buff. But I'd say, for example, on a GT Heroes team, where you could have a rotation of, let's say, in LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku and then like the GT duo, if they're on the opposite rotation to her, once she's super attacked on the previous turn, you go into the next rotation and both of those units then have an extra 30% attack and defense. So she's essentially supporting the units that she's not even on the rotation with the turn after her. So that is really good. Pan definitely has one of the better super attack effects. So she's in the upper half of these 10 units for sure. Then we have Rildo. Rildo greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage, seals and lowers attack and defense. So in some events, sealing, lowering attack and defense can still be useful. And then he has the greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn. So this is obviously really good because if you've picked up a decent amount of orbs, he gets a decent amount of defense in terms of stats. And then the super attack effect is obviously a 50% raise on his defense. So his is pretty good. And then, of course, you know, he's got units like the Omega on the GT Bosses team, LR Omega, that can benefit from his support. So he is certainly a very solid unit as well. I will talk about with each of these guys some of the units that they're going to work well with when it comes to talking about actually summoning for them, right? So then the Tech TN, greatly raise attack for 1 turn, supreme damage, and greatly lowers attack and defense. Unfortunately for TN, the super attack effects, as I say, determine which ones of these guys are better or worse. And no defense raising ability is obviously a bit of a disappointment. Like, he can hit relatively hard, especially on the turns where you get a lot of orbs. And if you can lower attack, greatly lowering attack is, of course, very good. His links are also a bit wonky because he is a TN, of course. He does have over in a flash. I remember back in the day running him with like the LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who of course should be getting his EZA soon on global, and they have over in a flash and shattering the limit, and this guy gives him 3 key with his support anyway. So that was always very good back in the day. But no defense raise on super is unfortunate for him, because essentially once you've picked up the orbs for him for the turn, if he's not in slot 3, the defense that you see in the menu, that is just the defense that you get, right? So he's one of the worst ones, unfortunately, because of that. But still solid, right? I mean, in the first couple of turns, these guys are all still decent because of the guard and everything like that. The heal, the heal that you'll get from the 50% or less orb change is really good as well. But sadly, TN a bit lower on the list. Second form Cell, however, he has greatly raised defense for 1 turn as well, and also greatly lowers attack and defense. So his super attack, very good, greatly raising defense, obviously very nice, especially if you can get an additional super as well. So certainly very good. With these guys having built-in crit chance as part of their passive, pretty much like any of the ones that are raising defense on super, you probably want to go full additional if you get dupes. Any of the ones who aren't raising defense on super, you probably want to go full dodge. But then, of course, the secondary ability will be flipped, right? So for this guy, full additional, secondary ability dodge, doesn't need any crit. And then for TN, for example, it would be full dodge and then secondary ability additional, right? So Cell's one definitely pretty good. Then we have the Int Gohan. So he has one of the best super attack effects. His is supreme damage to the enemy, raise attack and defense by 50% for 9 turns. So this can get multiple stacks, and the stacks last for 9 turns. So you have this guy on turn 1, even on like turn 7, all of these stacks will still be in place. So he's one of the ones that can easily get to over 1 million defense, which is certainly very, very good for a unit that is going to be giving a huge amount of support to the team. So Gohan, definitely one of the ones higher up on the list in terms of overall value. That super attack effect is incredibly good. And then the Scout of Vegeta, he has greatly raised attack, supreme damage with a high chance to stun. So unfortunately, like the TN, no defense raise on super. The chance to stun is nice for events where you can actually do that. And of course, this guy can be interesting on some of the teams he's on with other villains because he has big bad bosses. But yeah, he's not the craziest, sadly, because of no defense raise on super. But certainly still relatively good. I mean, he kind of makes up for having no defense raise on super is a shame, and it would obviously be better if he did have it. Having big bad bosses does kind of help him out a lot, right? Having links that are able to give defense, because a lot of his other links just give attack. But having big bad bosses active, being able to get an extra 25% defense on top does help him out a little bit. So I would say he is better than TN because of the link set and the teams that he's on. But yeah, no defense raise on super, a bit of a shame. Then we have the STR one. So Kaba is basically the same as Gohan, 50% attack and defense for 9 turns. Kaba is probably the best one overall because he's a pure Saiyan and a Super Saiyan. Like, he's on a bunch of great teams. He's just very, very good. A lot of the best units in the game right now, especially on global, we have a lot of really good super STR units. We have the anniversary coming up with, of course, Beast Gohan, the new, like, the #1 unit in the game, and he's super STR. So Kaba, super, super good. And then, of course, we have Hit is the extreme STR. He can work really well because bear in mind, of course, like, they still give the STR types 3 key and attack and defense 10%. So on like a Universe 6 team with Kale, you can run Kaba and Hit and then be running like Kefla, the STR Kale, and then you have your STR allies. You have the STR allies that you need for him to have the guard for the first 4 turns. He won't have the orb change because you're not running a bunch of other extreme characters, but these guys can both be really good on Kale's team, and Hit will still be supporting the super STR types for 3 key and 10% as well. So these two are very, very good. Hit greatly raises defense on super, but it is an infinite stack. So he is one of the better units as well for the longer events, and he definitely gets a lot of value out of getting those additional super attacks because he is an infinite stacker. So when it comes to thinking about units for these guys and where they are going to be looking good in the future, Super AGL, I mean, like I say, for Pan, she does kind of support everyone on the team as well. So the GT-based teams can benefit from her even if they're not AGL types. And then, of course, we have units like AGL UI Goku, of course, getting his EZA during the anniversary. That's going to be a pretty big buff. They obviously are on teams like Goku Family and stuff like that together. So that's something that can be very, very beneficial. Other than that, you know, in terms of Super AGL, you have units like Android 21. I don't know if they're on a lot of teams together, or if any teams together, to be fair. But there hasn't been as many big Super AGL releases. We obviously have the Blue Boys from the Worldwide Download Celebration, the Kai Goku from the anniversary, like the Part 2 LR. But yeah, the fact that Pan can also support other units is really, really good as well. So that works out quite nicely. And then, of course, for Rildo, we already mentioned Omega. In terms of Extreme AGL, I mean, Extreme AGL has been a bit of a weird one for a while. We've got units like Super Boo, there's Golden Frieza, the LR Wheelo. These guys don't all necessarily share a ton of teams, but certainly very, very good. Especially with his orb changing. I don't know if they're on any teams together. Let me just double check his categories. But Meki Kabura is going to get an EZA with the Heroes Celebration this year. And he is an orb changing nuking style unit that will go absolutely crazy with enough orbs. Although I'm just looking at his categories now and they don't share any categories. So maybe on a Zamasu team with Rildo getting the LR Zamasu Extreme lead. But yeah, Rildo, sadly, outside of being a buff for GT bosses, probably doesn't have the highest value. Then when we come to TN, we already mentioned the LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku as a super tech option. And then, of course, you know, we've got like the free-to-play LR Trunks and Broly, Tech Trunks, because remember, this guy is an Android/Cell Saga character. So Tech Trunks, we have like Tech 23rd World Tournament Goku, LR Piccolo, bunch of strong, solid super tech units. We are going to get the EZA hopefully sometime soon for the Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta and Goku that transform into Majin Vegeta and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and of course the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and of course the Vegeta starts off as Super Tech. Even older units like the Tech Carnival Goku or Birdku, you know, the 7-year LRs, crazy as it seems to think that, I mean, it's a while away, but they're going to get their EZA during the next anniversary. Tech LR Gogeta will get his EZA hopefully sometime soon. So Super Tech definitely has some interesting options. Extreme Tech is obviously a typing that was in the mud for quite some time, but we've just gotten the new Vegeta, and whilst this Cell isn't on his leader skill, they are on Android/Cell Saga together as well. Of course, we have like LR Zamasu, and this guy will be very, very nice on his team. because he is on Worldwide Chaos, which is part of Zamasu's leader skill. So this guy's super, super good on the LR Zamasu team. We have units like Tech LR Broly that will get his EZA at some point, hopefully soon. Tech LR Super 17 will be due an EZA, Tech Janemba. So there are some decent extreme tech units. Although it has been a bit of a weird category for a while, sadly, or weird typing, I should say. Then we have the Super Int for the Gohan. Units like Namek Goku will get his EZA at some point in the future. We obviously have LR Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku that we've mentioned already. The LR Super Saiyan Trio, although I don't know if these guys do actually share any teams because of the combination of characters. The fact that Vegeta at that point is not a Bond of Master and parent and child character. But we have like the Int Carnival Gohan, although they have sadly the same name, they can still function on the team. LR Vegeta and Trunks, of course. Evolution Blue Vegeta gets his EZA during the anniversary as well, the LR. So there's some good Super Int units. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I noticed as well. He's a unit that we're very much anticipating his EZA. And then when it comes to Extreme Int, we obviously just got Harudagan recently. These guys are on Planetary Destruction together. We have Piccolo Jr. can still be solid. Other than that, I'm just looking at some of the most recent Extreme Int units, and Extreme Int is starting to feel like maybe it is the worst category, right? I mean, LR Rosé, still pretty good, shares some Saiyan links with this guy. Broly from a previous Saiyan Day, the Int Broly, his EZA upcoming could certainly be very, very good. And then, of course, one of the best link partners for this guy was the Namek Part 2 LR from the Worldwide Celebration with the Vegeta exchange into Goku, who's an Extreme Int unit, and these guys have always linked really well. And of course, this guy would be giving them a massive buff, so an EZA for him in the future would be nice. LR Cell in LR Cell can still be pretty good, and is a unit that has big bad bosses, so that works out quite nicely as well. And then we get on to Super STR. And this is the reason why Kabe is probably one of the best ones to summon for. Because Super STR, you think about Global right now. We've got the Super Saiyan 3 Goku that just came out. We've got Future Gohan, we've got Bulma, we've got the Kefla EZA, we've got the Super Vegeta EZA, we've got the GT Duo, Gamma 1, who's going to get more buffs during the anniversary with all of the other superhero stuff that's going on. Super STR has a lot of crazy units, and as we've already mentioned, Beast Gohan comes out during the anniversary, is a Super STR character, and is the new best unit in the game. So obviously having Kabe in your box is going to work out quite nicely when running teams with that Beast Gohan. Beast Gohan's already crazy enough as it is, but with 60% support on the rotation, the dude is just absolutely unbelievable, right? So Kabe definitely has probably the highest value, I would say, out of any of the 10. And then when it comes to hit, it's interesting because, as I mentioned before, you can use him on the KO team without him really having a bunch of extreme units to support. Because Extreme STR, I mean, we look at some of the recent units like the GT17s. I mean, they're not good. You can't run these guys together really anyway. Although I suppose this guy is on Target Goku, so actually you can run him on their team with units like Cooler, who's on Target Goku, but pretty outdated at this point. STR Kid Buu, outdated at this point. Now, LR Goku and Hit will be interesting when they get an EZA because they're an Extreme STR unit. Their best link partners are other Hit units. So these two together obviously will be really, really good. But of course, we need that LR to get their EZA, and hopefully sooner rather than later. And of course, like the LR Turles army still needs an EZA as well. But Hit, whilst being good on that Universe 16 despite being extreme, doesn't really have a lot of great Extreme STR partners to support, which is unfortunate. And then lastly, with the physical, the Z Sword Gohan, he greatly raises... Actually, we didn't talk about the... I thought I stopped on these guys, didn't I? We didn't talk about their super attack effects. Greatly raise attack, supreme damage, high chance to stun. So no raise on super for defense, which is unfortunate. Gohan's probably one of the worst ones. When it comes to super physical, though, there obviously are some interesting units, like the Gogeta from the anniversary is super physical, Sword of Hope Trunks, the Buu Duo from the 8th anniversary, God Goku, LR Ultimate Gohan, who does get a bit of a resurgence thanks to Beast Gohan being one of his better link partners, the Blue Evolution Vegeta and Blue Kaioken Goku Duo LR get an EZA during the anniversary as well. So there's a lot of good super physical units that can benefit from the support, but Gohan's just definitely one of the weaker units. And then when it comes to Boo, who is the extreme physical, he raises attack and defense for 1 turn, so he does have defense raise on super, and he recovers 20% HP, which can be a lot, right? If you're running teams now that have like over 700k HP, then obviously 20% of that is still giving you a very decent heal. It's like 140k HP he's healing you on super, and then if he gets an additional, it's another 140k HP, so very, very good. And then extreme physical, obviously global, we've got the Rose, even though I don't think they share any teams. I mean, because of Worldwide Chaos, they could both be on the Zamasu team. We have the Rose Super Saiyan 3 from Heroes, Turles. Other than that, we start to get into these older units. Metal Cooler, physical LR Janemba will get an EZA, but of course the big one is the physical LR Buhan getting an EZA during the anniversary, as well as the Broly trio as well, who are another unit that could be interesting to run on Zamasu's team or some of these other future teams that get buffed by the anniversary, like the Super Bosses aspect of it. But then because of Worldwide Chaos, these Boo units can be run on the Zamasu team as well. So in terms of the overall value, Kabe definitely seems like the best one because of the units he supports. Pan is definitely up there as well, but I guess it kind of comes down to your box, which units you have, who you're going to be summoning for primarily for the anniversary and things like that. But Kabe is definitely one of the #1 ones to go for. And then if we look at the actual banners themselves, the banners all have 7 featured units. And then the unfeatured pool, it's all the same typing. Now, the interesting thing about this is it means all the LRs are in these banners. So, for the AGL banner, I mean, realistically, the Android 8 can still be pretty meta-relevant, and the rest not so, although we know this Gotenks is getting an EZA because he's just got it on JP. And then, of course, the supports. The Tech banner, this Vegeta can still be okay, Yajirobe can still be okay. Other than that, nothing too crazy. Then we've got the Int banner, we have Superhero Pan can be okay on the Superhero team, Chilai can still be decent. I really want to see what Garlic Jr.'s EZA will be like. But yeah, there's nothing super crazy on here. And then the STR banner, of course, for these guys, I forgot these guys were on here. STR Mai can be okay. Everybody else kind of mid, except for Kaba and Hit. But remember, this banner will have like LR Bulma, it will have LR UI Goku, who's going to get an EZA in the countdown to the anniversary. So another reason why the STR one is super good. And then the physical one, we have Jiro and Mew. Okay, yeah, none of these guys really are any good anymore. Heart Virus Goku could get a really good EZA as well, but yeah, the banners aren't particularly crazy. You are mostly going for the supports themselves, but the big thing about these banners and the reason why people will be tempted to summon is the first 2 multis only cost 30 stones and you're guaranteed one of the support units. So if you drop 30 stones on this banner, you are guaranteed to get either a copy of Hit or a copy of Kaba. And I saw screenshots from people on JP getting like 3 copies of Hit in one multi and stupid stuff like that. Now, obviously not to say that that is going to happen for you if you decide to drop 30 stones, but the STR banner, I would say if you can spare 30 or even the full 60, I would do the 2 multis on the STR banner 100%. Now for me, I have all of these units at 55%, except for Kaba and Hit, both have 2 dupes. So funnily enough, whilst I recommend this is the #1 banner out of all of them to summon on, it's probably the only one I won't summon on, because 2 dupes will be good enough, right? Because the big issue is not wanting to dip into all your anniversary stones before the anniversary, which is going to be an interesting one. Because with this Goku and Hirudegarn celebration not really having a crazy amount of content, we certainly are you know, not exactly swimming in free stones to just waste right before the anniversary, especially with Golden Week coming up in like 2 weeks. So it's a tough one for sure to skip, but I would say for most players, maybe do the 2 30 stone multis on the STR banner, but I would potentially consider skipping any of the other ones. If you can spare those 30 stone multis, maybe for like 1 on each of the 5 or something, you definitely can get some value there. But you do have to remember you're only guaranteed to get 1 of the 2. So if you summon on this banner because you really want Pan, both your 30 stone multis, you could just get 1 copy of Rildo and then 9 just trash that you don't want, right? And unfortunately, that is the risk if you do summon on these banners. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are you going to summon on any of these? Which ones are you going to summon on? Let me know all your thoughts. I will be live tomorrow when the banners come out, and we will do some summons, so hopefully I will see you guys there. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.